because that'll help explain a few things. And then obviously the reports and all this other advanced stuff is in our admin portal. So I'll do that sort of second. But I did want you to see what the agent experience is going to be like. And obviously that's something you're going to have to adopt into your internal call center, right? So we want to make sure that that works. So there's two versions of the agent app. They both work the same way. One is an installed Windows only application. That's that little postage size stamp you see on the screen there. And then the other one is a web-based application. You can log in from Chromebooks, MacBooks, or any browser basically. But they both work the same way. Everybody gets their own unique profile, right? And obviously a password that goes with that. And that's what defines that agent's skill sets, what queues I'm in, what priorities I get, all that good stuff. And then the phone number just becomes your Conterra phone number. I'm assuming Hector and the team are going to provide you with some new phones and things like that. They're a little bit more reliable. So it is, though, however, I always like to say this term, phone agnostic. So one of the things that we can support here is, let's just say you were having some sort of crazy outage, or maybe Spectrum went out, offline or whatever it is. If your agent has access to their computer still, whether they're at home or in the office, they could put in technically any phone number if you want to allow it. Like I could log in and throw my cell phone in here, and that's where we're going to deliver the call. So from a DR perspective, if you are going through some intermittent outages, or if you're having some issues, again, as long as the agents have some internet and a phone, right, any phone, we can send the call to it, and that'll continue to maintain that patient experience for you, right? So you'll stay live, if you will. I'm going to log into both. Obviously we have single sign-on with Azure if you're interested in that. I don't know if you're a team shop or not, but we do support Azure AD. And both of the interfaces, as this updates, they're about this. They're the same, right? And really, what we kind of talk about, and you probably know this as well, but from an agent perspective, maybe I'm working in one office, maybe I'm working at home today, wherever I am working, I have full transparency, right, to what's going on around me. Let me just put my agent on busy here. So like, for example, right, it shows me here clearly I'm in a sales queue, customer service, billing, but I'm also in a web chat queue and an email queue and an SMS queue and even a voicemail queue, right? And then my other agent, same sort of idea, right? I see the name of the queue, I see the type of queue, I see if there's any interactions waiting, what that longest wait time is, and I can also visually see, are there any other agents logged in and or available in the same queues I'm in, right? So that for me, and you probably know this too, right? Like if an agent knows that there's 10 calls waiting, right, they're gonna speed through their call and try to catch up. So that, for me, that transparency means something. The other thing that's let me minimize this here. The other thing that kind of goes on here is call comes in. Whether you have, a direct to queue transfer or whether it goes through an IVR or an auto attendant, Freddie, we provide that to you. So thank you for calling. Advanced neurology, right? Press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. All of that sort of menu option stuff is also provided. And then ultimately, when it comes time to deliver a call to an agent, right, we look at, okay, who's available? Who's either got the highest skill set or who's been waiting the longest, right? You kind of decide the routing, and we just route that call directly to that agent. There doesn't even need to be any wait time. But when all of your agents are busy, I'm assuming you deal with this today, obviously we queue the call, right? So we can tell the customer when we queue the call, you can tell them, all of those normal prompts that you're kind of used to. So we can tell the customer their estimated wait time. You can tell them their position in queue if you want. You can, insert your comfort messages along the way. But you could also tell the customer, hey, if you want to hold your place in line and get a callback option, right? Callbacks are included as well. So you can kind of tee that up. But ultimately, the system is using the agent status to find somebody who's logged in and available that we can send a call to, right? If I wasn't logged in and I wasn't available, right, I wouldn't even be part of the scenario. So I called it on my cell phone. I just did a quick, call in to show you how this looks. I selected customer service. So that call is sitting in my customer service queue now, 17 seconds. Now it should be 25, 22 seconds. So it'll refresh every 4 or 5 seconds for the agent. And when it gets above your acceptable wait time, it'll turn red. So there is a visual alert for the agent to let you know that there's an elevated wait time. And then on the web agent, I think it even looks a little bit different, right? On the web agent, there's an actual section for exceeded wait time. So you can see that customer service queue, right? It's elevated. If I go back to my other client, same deal, right? It's the same information. And as soon as I go available, the phone number that I use to log in, right, which happens to be a desk phone, it's going to ring. So I'm just going to show you that now. Well, I won't show you the phone, but I'll show you the me getting the interaction. So my phone's ringing. I'm going to pick it up and put it on mute. And now I'm in a call. Just ignore my screen pop for Salesforce in the background there. So now that I'm busy on a call, obviously I won't get any other calls, but I know that this customer called in on the customer service queue. I know that, they called from this phone number. This is their, CNAM information. And now that I'm busy on a call, the system is not only recording the call, but it's tracking the interaction, right? So from here, if I wanted to, put put the caller on hold, I would click hold. If I wanted to mute myself, or if I wanted to make a transfer, we use the on-screen application to basically manage the call. So, I don't know if you guys have to do this a lot. Hey, sorry, Mr. Customer, you came in on the sales queue. I've got to send you to scheduling, right? Or, maybe I got to send you to the billing queue. So you can actually have some visuals on the queues and who's logged in and available and those sorts of things. And then you can even do third-party transfers, right? Where you can upload your phone book of all of your internal contacts so that the agents can do those third-party transfers without having to dial anything. And then there's even a screen for other logged agents. So if I was looking to transfer this to another agent, I'd go here and I could see all of my agents who are logged in, their status, obviously, and I could do a direct transfer from here as well. And the nice thing about this is whatever you do inside this app, it's tracked. So whether I put you on hold for a minute or transfer the call to a third party or transfer the call to a queue, in our reporting, you're going to see a cradle to grave interaction that'll show you all of that information. So there's reporting around that, transfers or conference calls. We do also provide, obviously, call recording, right? So as soon as the call hits the agent, we're recording that call until the call ends. And then we store it in the cloud, and our data is HIPAA compliant, right? The way it's stored and accessed. So you just have to kind of decide, Freddie, how long do you want to keep your recordings for, right? They're time-based, not necessarily, minutes or usage-based. So I think we give you 30 days to start, but you can do 60, 90, 120, 5 years, whatever retention policy you want to set. And then, so this button here, I just showed in demos. You probably wouldn't want to turn this on, but it gives your agents the ability to pause and start recording, as an example. So obviously that's not something we typically want to give agents the power to do. So this could be disappeared, or it could be it could be something we expose to certain agents if you want. And then at the end of the call, let's just say I'm gonna hit end on the call. We do have a window here, and I was thinking about this when you were talking about reports and kind of just understanding what happens on calls, right? Because you're going to have a report that shows that, Andrew Boone called customer service and spoke for, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, and then the call ended. But we can also, and this is kind of like a disposition code, Freddie, or a wrap-up code, right? So we just call it a classification where all of these drop-down menus are custom. So what happened on the call, right? So we can get the agent to fill this out. So this was so somebody who called in our scheduling queue, right? Here's their account. They called in today. We'll keep this one simple. They called in about a appointment request, and I confirmed the appointment, and I sent them some details, and then I'm just going to say, appointment updated in EMR, and here's my note. Now, this is limited to the contact center piece, so this will live in our reports. So you can actually run reports on these outcomes. It's included in a bunch of them.
Nice.
This data, it's right. So if you want to run, how many people called today about, a complaint or whatever, you can isolate that. We also attach.
That's the kind of reporting I'm accustomed to where I'm able to drill down on reasons and kind of segment them and understand what the drivers are,
And a little sneaky use case. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm sorry. What's your question?
No, I was going to say, because you're going to be the manager here. So a little sneaky use case is you can set these up to be triggers that alert you based on an outcome. So let's just say I went in here and instead of appointment request, this guy called in about a service complaint, right? Unbeknownst to the agent, if I select service complaint, my supervisor gets an email. You should listen to this call, and it can be linked to an evaluation that we provide as well. So it does more than just capture data. It can also be like a proactive trigger for you to, hey, nice. Freddie, right? Just in case, and obviously you don't tell agents that, right? Hey, every time because as soon as they know service complaint, right, they won't obviously do it anymore. But it is a nice little way in the back end. And then you can even set up proactive alerts in the system, and I'll show you this when we get there, where based on outcome, based on sentiment, based on different scenarios on a call, we can automatically trigger an evaluation to you as well, right? Just based on a bunch of different scenarios. Go ahead with your question. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I lost my train of thought, but very
sorry
nice.
about that. All right.
Oh, you're fine.
And then at the end of this, right? So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit end on my cell phone. So you'll see I'm going to change from busy on call to wrapping up. And this is an interesting condition because obviously wrap up, everybody needs a little bit. You can put I like to say a ring fence around wrap up where at the end of the timer, it can be a threshold alert, or it can force the agent to available. So at the end of my timer, you'll see at 15 seconds, it's going to push me back to available. I didn't have to do anything. The system timer timed me out basically and put me back in the queue. So you can have some flexibility around wrap up, the timer, and what happens if they exceed that wrap up condition. It could just be a threshold alert, obviously, or it could be, like I said, an automatic change. The only other thing I want to share with you, and then I'm going to ask you if you have any questions about this, but status management. So obviously I'm busy on break. I click it again, I'm available. Click it again, I'm on break. But if I hit the drop down, there's an unlimited number of custom statuses or activities you can add. It's a medical office, right? Maybe you're dealing with, walk-ins. Hey, so I'm dealing with a walk-in, so I can't take calls. So the system's like, hey, don't send a call to this guy. He's in walk-in. But the nice thing about these custom statuses is that they also show up in reports. So if you were to look at the monitor page right now, you would see that I'm in walk-in status, or something a little bit more fun like juggling swords, right? And so we use these statuses to inform the system who's available or not, but also you can report really intimately on these statuses. So every time a status is changed, it's flagged and tagged and reported. So you get number of times, you get percentage of login time, and you even get average time in every status. So you can really run reports against how your agents obviously are spending their time. What do you think about this so far? Any questions or feedback or anything else you want to see agent-wise?
I like it. Yeah, this is all what I'm accustomed to. So yeah, it's a step in the right direction. Let me ask you this: so you can So this is just the agent interface, correct?
Correct. Yeah, just the agent. I'm going to go supervisor next.
Gotcha. Okay, never mind. I'll hold my question.
Oh, you want to see the supervisor? Okay, cool. Now, were you thinking any other channels? This is where I was going to go. Obviously that was a voice call. Are you thinking about incoming SMSs? Are you thinking about emails? Are you thinking about web chats?
So as of right now, it's all inbound,
mm-hmm.
And with a small outbound. So let me ask you this: Can you track the outbound calls as well as including reasons?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I make an outbound call, I just hit dial out, and it's a little bit like two-stage dialing. So I'll kind of show it to you. So let's, number one, if you have multiple outbound caller IDs, we can have them all populated so the agent can select them. I'm obviously not Dr. Pepper. We don't support spoofing or anything. It was just for fun. But I type in my phone. I'll just type in a destination. This is my cell phone. So what happens is I hit OK. The system calls me on my actual phone is ringing. So I'm just going to answer it. And then it calls my cell phone, which is the number I populated. So let me just hit answer. It says it's calling. Hey, Dr. Pepper's calling. How cool. So now I've answered the call, and now I'm in a busy on a call, but it's an outbound call. And the only additional feature with an outbound call is you can do a voice drop on an outbound call. So if I get a voicemail, I can just click this button and it'll leave my message and disconnect immediately. But I also have that same classification options for outbound, but they can be different for your outbound versus your inbound. They can be different per queue as well, because maybe classifications are going to be different depending on where the call's coming from or the type of call you're making. So that's what that would look like. And then of course, outbound can be recorded just like inbound as well. It's all the same sort of cradle to grave reporting.
Nice. So, and I don't know who to address this question to is, so you and I had talked about CTI at some point, and would that include the outbound calls as well?
Like to integrate with your backend eClinical?
Yeah.
We can deposit a link to the call recording into a patient record, and we can deposit the classification notes into a patient record, whether it's inbound or outbound. Yes.
Nice. So to make sure I understand, so like say for instance, somebody's going to confirm an appointment, they dial the phone number, whatever's that phone number is associated with a record within eClinical Works, that will then screen pop the information, the demographic information, correct?
Exactly.
Nice.
And we just build a connector for that. Now, you mentioned a very specific use case, which is appointment reminders. I think that's what you do a lot of, right? So are you manually calling people today for appointment reminders? Like how does that work in your system? Excellent.
Yes. So there's a couple of different steps. So text message is one channel, but then also there is a good percentage of the confirmations for some, or like say for instance for testing, for diagnostics, it's done outbound.
Yes. Okay. So the reason I bring this up, right, we deal with a lot of medical facilities, small, big, right? LA County General Hospital, for example, is one of our big customers. And then, we've got all kinds of small little, 3, 4, 5 seat clinics, and they all kind of have the same problem, which is these appointment reminders tend to be really, really, complicated. Do you like doing the manual calls for appointment reminders? Like, is there a reason you do it manually? Like, if I gave you an automated appointment reminder tool built into the system, would that be of some value?
Absolutely.
So check this out. Let me go back into my admin portal here. Hopefully this works. And by the way, on an inbound call, I know this is not eClinical. It's obviously Salesforce, but let me show you what, and this is not exactly the scenario you would get, but on an inbound call, we take the customer's phone number in eClinical and it starts with a patient verify, right? Because you don't really know who you're talking to, right? So let's just pretend, this customer called in, like, how can I help you? Advanced neurology, blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's August Spinsai. I need to change my appointment. All right, August, can I confirm your date of birth? August says, 1/2/1990. Excellent. And your address, please, August, right? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Spinsai or Mr. August or whatever your name is. Now that I verified, I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to pull in, and this is all custom for you, right? We pull in this patient information from eClinical, and it has everything that your agent will ever need to address that patient, schedule that patient, whatever it is that they need to do. And I never even have to click into eClinical once, right? It just pulls it into this application. And this is all custom, like it's crazy stuff. So obviously I see the patient information at the top. This one happens to be pulling from Epic, by the way, so it's not exactly the same, but you get the idea. I got a dashboard here. I can tell the customer where the closest pharmacy is. I can see their appointments, right? I see future, past, canceled, no shows, right? I can change and update appointments in here and it'll automatically update eClinical on the back end, right, through our HL7 integration with these guys. So this little screen that the agent gets is not just the verify piece, which I think is always important. I don't know if you guys do that today, but it also allows your folks to hopefully save a little bit of time because they don't have to log into eClinical. They don't have to go in and find the patient record. They don't have to log all the notes and the activity at the end of the call. We're going to do that all automatically once the call ends, right? So we'll write that classification data. We'll put a link to the recording. I could even put an AI summary of the transcription of the call into the patient record so that the agent can just move on to the next call, the next appointment, whatever it might be. Did we show you this before, Freddie?
No.
So this is, and again, I know it says Epic, right? But the eClinical one is very similar. So I just wanted you to kind of have a flavor of what that was. And then in the back end, let me log into so this is my admin portal. It's web-based and it's permission-based, Freddie. So you don't need specific admin licenses for this. You just create profiles. So like, you're an administrator, obviously you might have 4 or 5 others. You don't have to buy licenses for your admins. They're included, as many as you want. And based on the profile of the user, you can kind of define or even restrict what they can do when they log in, right? Like obviously monitor pages and dashboards, accessing recordings, looking at reports, doing an evaluation, updating your prompt files is an option, right? Inserting an emergency bulletin because you got to close the office because there was a snowstorm. You're rescheduling everybody. Like you can do all of this yourself based on permission in the system. But the big thing I wanted to show you is this tool, Dynamic Notifications. And we actually built this for LA County. So it's funny that I mentioned them earlier, but when we first brought them on as a customer, they told us that they had a 39% no-show rate in their appointment reminders, right? They were accepting appointments, but a lot of folks were just not canceling them and just not showing up. And you know this too, right? No-shows are the kiss of death. So right. we gave them this tool, and it's kind of interesting. So here's my appointment reminder example. So basically, you get to load up a list of all of your appointments. Let's just say first thing Monday morning. You load up, all the names, the addresses, the doctor, the location, whatever important information. And then we can blast that customer with a voice call and an SMS and do an appointment reminder notification. So in this case, right? Oops, hang on a second. Where am I? Appointment reminders, voice. I did something wrong here. There we go. So whatever you type out in here for your message is what gets delivered to the customer. In this case, you pick your voice and it gets spoken to the customer on a voice call. So you would get, "Hello, Freddie. This is the office," or whatever, right? Calling to remind you that you have an upcoming appointment on Friday the 13th at 3 p.m. Who knows, right? At Dr. Bob's office at 225, Centennial. Press 1 to confirm your appointment or press 2 to reschedule. Now, most people hit 1. that's good. 80, 90%, right? They'll hit 1, and then they'll get a message, appointment confirmed. But if they hit 2, then that call is going to be routed to the scheduling queue automatically, and then that agent who gets that call can reschedule the customer in line. So your customers don't even have to call you; they just have to push 1 or 2 to accept a reschedule. Same thing happens with an SMS, right? You can have an SMS campaign built. You can do both, where the customer will get this SMS, but again, everything in the hash marks is pulling from your list, and then instead of just typing 1 or 2, they'll say, yes, I accept, or they type, I don't know, change to reschedule. And if they do change, then I deliver an SMS right into the SMS queue, and then your agent can reschedule them over an SMS. And for me, it's that automatic connect back to an agent live feature that allows people, that will help you reduce those no-shows, you know what I mean? And then maybe it's those people you manually follow up with, the people that canceled, right? And then you can kind of, do your follow-ups manually instead of having to call everybody. What do you think of that? Is that useful? I know you got a lot of background noise there, so hopefully you heard everything okay. You still with me, Freddie?
Sorry, I'm talking on mute. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
I definitely like this piece, and it does bring a lot of value in terms of the automation, and without having to manually scroll through the calendar and see who canceled, who was a no-show, print out reports, and then go down a list manually. So there's a lot of efficiencies that are need to be realized still, and I think this helps bridge that gap.
Now, you could literally manually upload this list every Monday, every day if you want, right, and do this. Or if we move forward with that HL7 eClinical Works integration, then we can push and pull data from eClinical automatically. So it even takes it a step further. You just push a button and then the campaign goes, kind of thing. And then on the back end, every time somebody says yes and confirms, it updates in eClinical. Or if somebody cancels, it updates in eClinical, so that you have real-time appointment data that's available for you to obviously make your changes. So I wanted you to see that. And then this tool has other use cases. Appointment reminders is the one that makes the most sense, but anything outbound related can be thrown in here, right? Like maybe you want to do post-call patient surveys, right? Hey,
nice.
Right? Hey, Mr. Boone, thank you for being a reliable patient or whatever it is. If you'd be willing to participate in a brief survey about your experience, press 1. And then it goes back to a survey IVR, and you can have an unlimited number of different surveys that you create, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, how would you rate your interaction with Dr. Bob, right? And then you can take all that information, and we give you reporting around those, surveys, so that you can, use that for your best, to improve outcomes or whatever it might be. So surveys are another one. Surveys are just voice, by the way. We don't do SMS surveys. They're just voice surveys. We can also, at the end of a call, automatically transfer someone to a survey as well, right? So if you want to do the survey in line, you can do it that way. I happen to like sending out the survey after the fact, because I think people are a little bit more honest with their impression of you. That's not as emotionally charged as the, right after the call sometimes. So you'll get a bit of a different level of feedback that way.
Can you set a certain percentage? Like maybe, for instance, every other call, or does it have to be every call, or nothing?
No, I mean, surveys are really 3 ways. You can have an auto opt-in in the IVR. So as soon as they call in, the first thing a customer could hear is, hey, Mr. Patient or whatever, if you're willing to participate in a brief survey at the end of this call, press 1. And then what happens is, if they accept that, then as soon as the agent hangs up, it'll auto transfer the caller to the survey. So forget percentage wise, right? Like people will decide whether or not no one will be 100% anyway. The other one is, I can say at the end of the call, after you and I have wrapped up, I say, hey, Freddie, thanks for all of this. Would you be willing to participate in a survey? And if you say yes, I can transfer you manually as an agent. So that's another way to do it. And then, like I said, my favorite way to do it is load up your list of customers and just send them a survey invitation a month after the fact, a year after the fact, if you want, right? And get their feedback that way.
Cool. No, thank you for sharing that. So one of the key pieces of our current operation is that we use the park system for calls a lot. So so if there's an alternative that kind of that's more efficient, that'd be great to learn about. Or if that's something that you guys offer in this package, then I'd like to be interested in understanding more about that.
Yeah, so parking is an odd one. It comes up a lot in offices like yourselves, right? Because it's just how business is done. But with contact center, parking isn't really a thing, right? Because a call comes in, that call is assigned to the person based on, their skills, based on your rules, basically your routing rules, right? So if you get
it's more of a traditional call center type methodology that where you have the queues where you route calls directly to queues.
But if you needed to transfer, again, right, I can transfer a call to somebody internally. I can even send a call to you on your cell phone and transfer it that way. But there's no real way to park that call and say, hey, Freddie, there's a call waiting on line 3. But I could transfer it to you directly, or I could potentially even, if you were an agent, one of the ways we get around with this is if on the agent side, if that's who's picking up the park calls, just create a personal queue for that agent, right? So everybody gets a personal queue, and then they have their own, the company queues. And then so if there's a call waiting for you, Freddie, and you're an agent, I send it to your personal queue, and it'll stay in the queue until you're able to answer it. And then that customer will hear whatever queue treatments. Hey, this is Freddie's line. Freddie's unavailable. The estimated wait time is 1 minute. If you want to hold, hold for a minute, Freddie will get to you. If you want to just get a call back from Freddie, press 1 now and put in your callback number. So personal queue becomes like a regular queue, but sometimes it's a better experience and outcome than obviously a park call. However, and I know Mike is on here, I don't know if you want to pop in, Mike or Paul, but on the PBX side, or Hector, we can park your calls that way. It's just, it wouldn't really be tied to the contact center, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Excellent. All right, so that's the the appointment reminder stuff, the integration. The other big items you had were reporting, right?
Yep.
So we have, and these won't look great, but I'll open them up anyway. It's just a demo account. We have 3 wallboards. And again, because this doesn't require a license, right? Everybody, every manager, every IT person, every executive that you want to give permission can access these wallboards and even customize them themselves. You don't need to buy 50 licenses for these people, right? It's just permission. So I hate this Teams thing here. So if I go to, it just blocks my tabs. So if I go to the first one, which is the metrics dashboard, right? And again, this is my demo, so there's not a lot going on. But you see real time on the left, so you can see, calls waiting, signed in, callbacks waiting, calls being handled, longest talk time, and then everything on the right is cumulative. So since midnight, we've had 2 calls, right? We've answered 100% of them. There's no abandons. So here's my average talk time, my longest talk time. What's useful about this tool is every user that you want to give permission can go in and they can adjust these tiles so that they change color based on their thresholds. Like somebody's calling in on a scheduling queue, you don't want them waiting more than a minute, I'm assuming, right? Because you don't want them hanging up and being annoyed. Or if somebody's calling in on to pay a bill, maybe you make them wait a little bit longer. So you can have your own custom thresholds, and ultimately it's not an interactive tool. Like I'm clicking these tiles, nothing happens. It really is a visual wallboard, right? That you can kind of customize a little bit. And then there's another one here for, where are we here? There we go, the executive. So this one for me is about trends. I'm not sure where my call volume spikes are, but normally you see, queue distribution, classifications, agent activities. Here you would normally see call volume spikes throughout the day. Apparently I haven't made any calls today, so it's empty. But the idea is really just a visual representation of trends where you're kind of going. And then the last one is the real monitor page, right? So this is like on the top, everything that flows through your system, right? So the 2 calls, the service level, the abandon rate, all of that, average minimum average wait times. We do that by individual location. So each one of your locations will have their own unique IVR, which will have its own unique stats. And then underneath that, we'll have all of your different queues with cumulative stats as well. So at any point in time, you can come in here and see the health of your contact center, obviously. Then the rest of it is real time. So I have real-time queue information here, right? So I can, if there was a call waiting in the sales queue, it would show up here and you could actually click on it and see who it is. You can even reassign that call manually if you wanted to. And then at the bottom, you can see your agents, right? So there's the 2 people I have logged in. They're both red because I've exceeded the threshold for break. Break is only 3 minutes. I don't know why I said it for 3, but you get it, right? So 3-minute break is not very nice. And then you can see that, the top guy hasn't done anything today. He logged in at 12 o'clock and hasn't taken a call, but the bottom guy has taken 2 inbound calls, 1 outbound call, and 1 chat, and he logged in at the same time, right? And here's his log on time and his availability, et cetera. So if you wanted to listen to someone, you would just click their name, do live monitoring, and this is where you either type in your phone number, although that's a bit risky. So typically you just give us a list of numbers that you approve monitoring from, and then you select that number. The system will call you on that number. You answer it, and then you're silently monitoring the caller, the agent. If you choose the coaching feature, then you can whisper monitor barge right from this part of the app. And because this is not, you don't need a license for this. I don't know what's going on with my monitor, but because you don't need a license for this part of the app, you hire a new employee and you want them to listen to calls, you just give them permission to come in here and live monitor all day. Doesn't cost you anything, right? It gives you just, a nice ability to train someone. Any questions about the monitor pages or dashboards? Is that sufficient, you think?
Excuse me.
Well, I'm going to take a sip of coffee as well.
Yeah. Did I miss the half-hour interval data?
No, so reporting is coming. This is all live stuff, right? So this is all cumulative midnight to midnight. But yeah, reports are next. So on the reporting side,
yeah, I'm just a natural segue.
You are, like, you just driving this thing in the right direction, right? So we have about 1,000 canned reports. It used to be close to 7,000, but I think we purged a lot of them. Most of the reports you'll ever need, Freddie, are here in Foundation, but there are hundreds of agent reports, billing. It's call center software, right? Like you said, you've worked with other systems. Like, this is kind of, for me, this is standard stuff. So you can track anything, and it's all cradle to grave, right? So for example, if you wanted to run a report on an agent, you interested in seeing what an agent report might look like?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, you were saying when you're saying intervals reports, you're thinking more about your queue intervals. Like, I want to see a report every 3 hours on the health of my queues on my IVRs, or is it more agent related, or do you do a bit of both?
Both. Yeah. So say for instance, so I have a workforce management background also, sudden distance ops management. So I'm accustomed to seeing things at the half-hour level for real time.
Sure.
And then so I where the differential is between, say for instance, the ASA. What's the ASA running? Is it, anything under 30? That's going to, that's where I want to, that's a sweet spot, right? Yep. That's going to help me get to my 80% service level. But then if I have a high abandonment rate, but I'm still hitting service level, what's driving that delay before abandon? Is
Understood.
it, what is my delay before abandon? Is it, did I even have a shot at answering the calls? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, customer hung up in 3 seconds. No, right? Yeah. You didn't have a shot. So I got you.
Exactly.
So for me, there's tons of queue reports, and they're all hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. But the one that I think are best for you are these queue productivity by 30 and 60. I'm going to do the 31. Now, this is going to look stupid because this is my demo account and I don't have a lot of data. So we're going to have to, but you'll be able to see the headers, right?
You haven't made enough calls yet, huh?
No, honestly, this is an old demo account. So I can't even explain why this is so lightly used. But the nice thing about this report is obviously there's going to be different parameters. So date range, you can, and I always love this, by the way. Oh, I don't care if people hang up in less than 10 seconds. That's not an abandoned call, right? Or I want to normalize my data, so I want to take out all the really long calls. Anything over, whatever, how many nines that is, 999,999 seconds. And what this does is if you put in any parameters here, it'll take that data and push it to the side. It doesn't delete it or anything, but it normalizes your standard data. Because again, a couple of short calls, abandoned, throws your abandon rate off the table, right? A couple of really long calls, as you know, workforce management background, right? That throws everything out. So you can normalize data, you can select by queue. And what I like about this report in particular is you get the stats on 30-minute intervals on a queue by queue basis. So the top one you're looking at is my sales queue, right? Not only does it tell you every half an hour all of your stats, but it tells you also how many agents were logged in. Because, for me, and you just said it, right? Like, I could look at queue data all day, but if there's nobody logged in, then what the heck, right? It doesn't really mean anything. So I know that
or to understand where your resources are. If you have, say, 10 scheduled and you're only reflecting 2, where the hell is everybody?
And this is not WFM software. I'm not trying, obviously, right? You've used that. You know what that looks like. But I can see who's logged in. I can see queued calls, answer calls, voicemails, callbacks, abandoned calls, forced CQs, routed calls, and then you get max average wait time, max average abandoned time, max average callback time, talk time, wrap time, after call work time, which we treat a little bit differently, handle time, abandon rate, service level, and then there's your adjusted abandonment rate, right? If there was a call or a long call or obviously a short abandoned call. So over here, I don't think I had any abandoned calls, did I? Like, why would I? It's a demo account. But if there was an abandoned call, you would see what that abandoned wait time was, right? If you see that there's all your abandoned calls on average are less than 4 seconds, then maybe there's something else going on, right? It's not really an abandoned call. So this is a good report. From here, you can export it to PDF, Excel, or the raw data. But the big thing for me on these reports, if I can get back to where I was, is they can all be proactively scheduled. Like this is an ad hoc report, but every report can be added to the scheduler where you get an email every hour if you want with a link or an attachment to the report that shows you this. And you can have it, every single report can be pre-scheduled essentially.
Cool.
Did you want to see any other types of reports?
That's the nuts and bolts of what I was looking for.
Okay, cool. I mean, obviously the agent one is that and a little bit more, right? It breaks down the agent data a little bit more deeply. And then obviously some of the other channels. There's another good one in here, which is called, where am I? Full call details. Like as a manager, you probably have to deal with this all the time, right? Customer calls in, complains, says, hey, I talked to somebody and they weren't really nice to me and they don't know who it was, but they know their phone number. So we're like, okay, Mr. Customer, what's your phone number? Yep. And you can look up every interaction from that phone number into your business. And it'll give you sort of a customer journey style report, if you will. So check this out. Hopefully this one's not too big. And again, they all start like this on screen that you can export, right? So this is an ugly report, by the way, but it's really there for troubleshooting. So you can see this is me, right? I called from this number. This is the number I dialed. This is what time I dialed it. This is the IVR, so this would be your locations. This is the queue I selected. There was no failed attempts, meaning the agent took the call right away, right? And sometimes the agents ignore the call, then that's a failed attempt. We send it to someone else. There's the team, the agent name, the username, the agent's phone number, so you can troubleshoot. And then you get all the basic stats: start time, and queue entry, answer time, call time. I put this guy waited 24 seconds. I didn't even put him on hold, right? The total talk time was 3:35. The total call time was 3:59. Did the call get transferred? So here's the cool thing with our reporting, right? If I transferred this to you on your cell phone, let's say, as an agent, it's going to show up in a report. If I transfer this to a different queue, it'll show up in the report. So obviously it's a no. Then we have that classification data, right? This guy called about scheduling. Here's his information. Here's the outcome of the call. And then if you're troubleshooting, this is where this comes in. Was it a manual DQ? Did it get forced DQ'd? Was there an abandonment? Did it get forced to voicemail? Did the customer select a callback? So obviously this is a good call. That's why these are all saying no, but any one of these saying a yes could be an indicator of, trouble that the customer ran into. And then we even include this because we're recording the call. And because we can transcribe it for you, I can give you a sentiment score on that call. So this one was a neutral call with 100% confidence, right? This one was neutral with about 66% confidence. So you even can kind of use the same report to kind of gauge that customer's, obviously overall happiness with the interaction. So this is just a silly report. I always like to show it in demos, but it kind of gives you an idea, I think, of the breadth and the depth of the reporting that you have available. Because, you can slice and dice this data 100 different ways from Sunday, right, to get different kinds of reports and whatnot. All right. One last thing on reports, and then I'll flip it to another part of the demo, but we also have a BI tool that we include with this. So if you don't like static reports and you want to look at your historical data throughout the day, you can run one of these wallboards. And so this is going to look silly. Let me hang on a second here. Let me log in. Let me log into an account with actual data. So this looks a little bit better for you. Oops, try this again. So you're seeing behind the scenes now. This is like, I'm pulling off the, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm the Wizard of Oz right now. So if I go into reports and I click that analytics tab, it'll give me a visual interactive way to look at your data, including that full call details one I showed you. So if I go to, what's a good one here? Let's just go queue productivity because that's the one you were looking at before, right? So I can look at my queues and it automatically defaults to a day. So I'm going to refresh this and go back 30 days so it looks normal. Apologies, I'm on the VPN, so things are a little bit slow here. Here we go. So I'll just do the last. I'll just do the last month. See how this looks. Man, this is like watching paint dry. I got to come up with better material while this is happening. Okay, so there's one for agents as well, but I chose queues for a specific reason. So I'm looking at a 65% service level with 122 queue calls and routed and a 16% abandon rate. There's my average wait time, right? And every single piece of data you see here is clickable. So I can go, now I'm just looking at service level, right? I just want to look at queued calls. Well, now all of a sudden I see that, 9 o'clock is our busy hour, and we happen to we had 8 abandoned calls at 9 o'clock. Or maybe I want to change this data and I want to look at it from day of the week. Well, now I see that Wednesday is my busy day of the week. Well, maybe I just want to look at the customer care queue. So I zoom in on that and I get different information, right? Or maybe I want to see which queues are having the abandonment issue. So you can drill into this data and you can create your own custom visuals here. And the idea is, Freddie, you can bookmark it and share it internally. So once you create your own custom view and add your filters and all that stuff, like maybe you build one of these for each office or something like that. And the idea is we just want to give you a way to look at the same data you were looking at, but interact with it a little bit more intuitively, right? Rather than having to run multiple reports sometimes. So this can be pre-scheduled. You can actually export the data from here as well into a PDF. You can add, remove data points, and you can even create your own, obviously, custom visuals in here. You use anything like this today, by the way, or is that kind of new?
No, it was on my wish list. So
wish list check.
I've been like I said, I've been manually extrapolating data and feeding it into Excel. So in my pivot tables. So
oh, you're a pivot table guy. Lovely. That used to be my job. So I feel for you. I really do. Like literally running. You know what I mean? Like, and the worst part about doing that, if you send those a pivot table report that you created to an executive, they don't believe it, right? Because it's like you made the data. It's not machine generated. You know what I mean? Yeah. I always found the pushback there was interesting. So you can imagine same sort of visuals for the agent dashboard, the call summary dashboard, and we're adding more and more as the year goes on, and we're giving you more and more control to kind of obviously create your own versions of this. So this will be included as well. I just wanted you to see it. I'm going to go back to the recording suite next. So we obviously record all the calls and we store them for a time period, right? I mentioned they're HIPAA compliant. Do you have a time for how long you think you need to keep your recordings stored?
I don't think it's anything longer than a year, to be honest. But I don't know I don't know for 100% for sure though.
Okay. I mean, not a problem. It could be, a year, and obviously the guys will coach you out for that. You do have the option to bring your own cloud storage. So if it's an AWS bin or an Azure bucket, or the other way around, we can store all your recordings there, and we can still use this interface to access the recordings and encrypt and decrypt and rest in transit and all that kind of good stuff. So if you do want to bring your own storage, you can. What you get though, and I'll just go back, this one's a bit of a busier account. So I'm just going to show incoming calls, but you can search for outgoing as well, like we talked about, or transfers, or just all calls. You can search for date range. You can search based on a name. Any combination of fields here is okay. So you can look up a number, the queue ID, the caller ID. You can look at classification data, right? So give me all the people that called today that were new customers, or maybe give me all the people that called in about, like we said, canceling the service, right? You can filter it out in the recording search. The notes is also searchable. You could also just say, give me the negative calls, or give me the calls where there's problematic words like, I hate you. I don't know if that's a good one, but you know what I mean, right? So you could type in whatever you want, and the system will pull those recordings out for you. And what you get, and this is all, it's very modular, Freddie, so you can pick and choose what you want from here. Let me just go to today's page. So you can see, because it's a demo account, most of these are neutral, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. So you can kind of see that. If I scroll to the right, you can actually see the classification data in the recording suite, and you can listen, you can read, you can look at the AI summary, or you can evaluate a call. Do you have any plans on doing this? Like someone on the team listening to a call and evaluating an agent and how they did?
Absolutely.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Right now we're using a homegrown paper form.
Right, which is what, believe it or not, that's what most people do, because this is normally reserved for full-blown workforce management, right? But we've kind of, obviously included it in our recording suite. So if I click listen, it's going to stream the audio. I don't know why that's to give me that error. That's probably because I'm on the VPN, but it'll stream the audio. You can't download it. You can if you want. We just turn it on, but stream it, skip, pause, mute, etc. You can read a transcription of the call. Right. So customer agent, right? So, and again, this is me with somebody, I was probably using colorful language, so I'm going to close that really quickly. Is this being recorded? Oh, shoot. I'm going to regret that. Peter, you were on that call when me and Abdu were testing. I may have dropped some curse words, so yep. I apologize. Then this is the AI summary of that whole conversation, right? So this is the kind of thing I can write to eClinical at the end of a call. Your agent doesn't have to take a note. I can take an AI summary of the conversation and deposit it for you, or I can evaluate. And when I click on evaluate, and again, I'm on the VPN, so this is going to be weird, but and I just have a really basic one, so I'm just going to show it to you. Oops. Andrew's awesome evaluation, I call it.
Thanks.
And basically, you create your questions and your scoring, right? It's wide open, multiple choice, 1 to 10, ad hoc points. Like you just create it, right? So did the agent greet the customer properly? Sure. Next question, right? Yes, right. And then on the there's curse words. I'm sorry. So on the transcription side, you have this fully transcribed conversation, and when you hit play, you're listening to it, right? That's me cursing, so I got to get past that. Yeah, I'm so terrible. And the idea is, right? You have a full summary of this interaction. You have the sentiment. You have the talk listen ratio, the words per minute, and as you're listening, you can add comments. Don't use curse words. This is a demo account, so that's for me, by the way. And so now at the end, so let's just say you went through this and you finished it. At the end of this, you can, let me just finish it here. So next question and 10, right? So now I can complete it. When I hit complete, the agent actually gets an email and they say, you've been evaluated, and they can click on it and they see this. They see what you scored them. They see, obviously they can read the information about the call, right? They can listen to the call and they can see all of your feedback. And we never delete this data. It stays in reports forever. So not only can you go back and say, hey, Sally, you're still dropping F-bombs on calls, what's going on? But you can also use it to report on your managers, Freddie, right? Like maybe you assign a supervisor to do 5 evaluations a week. You can pre-schedule those evaluations and then run reports both on the agent and the supervisors, right? To make sure they're all doing their part. Useful feature?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
All right, perfect. I'm going to apologize one more time for the colorful language. I shouldn't have selected that call. It was an accident. Anything else on the call recording suite that you might have some questions about?
No, it's pretty straightforward. But I do like the fact that it's the call grading is included or part of that. And it just kind of makes sense when you're listening to a recording that you kind of just click the button, score it, right then and there, as opposed to, going through multiple, whether it be platforms or apps or whatever. And,
right.
Cross systems, that's just not a good, experience,
No,
I like, and what I'm really enjoying about, your demo thus far is that it's a one-stop shop. It's robust enough to where, it's all the facets of from a management perspective, from an operations perspective, everything's all built in. And
right.
It's kind of like it's a turnkey, to where, as opposed to, who's going to do my WFM, who's going to do my telephony, who's going to do my reporting. I go back to the Impact 360 Avaya days. That
right. Yeah. You had to buy every module under the sun. I remember those days. Yeah, and most people wouldn't, by the way, right? Because it's bloody expensive. No, I'm with you. Now, you bring up workforce management a lot, and that's cool. And while I don't have a full-blown WFO suite, one other element of our product that is included is this scheduling tool. And it's not so like you can create, let me just see do you see it on the screen? Schedule manager. Let me see if I can find it here. No, where is it? Somebody came in here and like these like
see it.
All right, let me view these. This is all custom, right? So somebody logged in and used this account recently.
These are all the different facets that are included in this.
Exactly. And basically every time you log in, not all of them. Yeah. Every time you log in, you can add and remove tiles for things that you want to interact with, as an example. So our scheduling tool, and again, this is not set up perfectly or anything. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination, but you basically can pull in all your agent data from the system because it's our tool, and you can create custom schedules for your agents, right? So everybody can be like, I guess I'm assuming most of your guys are 9 to 5 or whatever it is. Maybe this is not a big deal. But you can create schedules. There's a real-time adherence in here. You can set vacation policies. You can let agents do shift trades. The only thing, and I don't think this is going to be a big deal for you because you don't have that many agents, but the only thing this won't do is forecasting. And honestly, and you probably already know this, like less than 60, 70 agents, forecasting is hard, right? Because one long call or one agent that takes a long break screws everything up anyway. But you can do everything else short of forecasting, and it's included, it's embedded. So it's just if you want to run your schedule through this and have your agents part of that, then you, as a manager, when you log in, you'll see some different stuff. But the biggest thing you'll see is the real-time adherence. If you want, hey, you're supposed to go at break at 10 and you didn't, let's go, right? And then you can start seeing your adherence being up or down depending on how the day is going.
So I do have one thought that kind of just, and I think it's been on the back of my mind. I think I shared this maybe with Hector and Maribel, but so our model currently is a traditional office type model.
Okay.
Clinical setting, it's the traditional model. So right now we are moving into the medical call center form, if you will, which is actually an up and coming designation, I think, within the industry, the call center industry, to where it's a medical call center, to where we have the traditional staff. So let me give you just real quick the moving pieces. So we have the front desk, we have the medical assistants that are the kind of the middle piece. They do the back office, interact with patients. Front desk obviously checks people in, and then you have the professionals, the providers. But then the primary folks that interact with patients, initially are the schedulers.
Right.
So schedulers would be more in the traditional call center model. So how, and maybe I'm looking for what the thoughts would be with, how that would be incorporated with this platform, but also maybe just a quick suggestion on how that may look forward within that blended model. Between folks that are having the unique skill set of being stationary and part of queues, and and also including folks like the medical assistants, the front desk folks that are tasked intraday or ad hoc, needs within the without actually having to log into a queue.
Yeah, it's a bit tougher. I mean, they don't have to physically log in, right, to a queue, but there is a dynamic skill set option in here, and it is used by a couple of our clinics for this exact reason, where you've got your scheduling queue and you've got your 5 or 10 schedulers and they're always there, but receptionists have to go on lunch and people have to go on lunch. So when that happens, the dynamic skill sets schedule allow you to automatically log people in. Like they'll say, I'm in scheduling, but I'm covered in reception for the hour and a half that there's lunch. And it'll just automatically add me to that queue. And then at the end of that time, it automatically kicks me out of that queue. So there is some automation there, but you're going to have a mix of people that are part of the contact center piece. And then you're going to just have regular traditional phone users, right? Which obviously is where Hector and that whole PBX functionality comes in, right? So the contact center is kind of an overlay over that. So we could use dynamic skill sets, if I understood your question correctly, that is, to kind of help with that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
but you can also on the fly inside the monitor page, right? You can move agents around based on skill sets. So check this out. This is my AB appointments queue, right? I click on it. There's only one agent. Well, if I want to, maybe someone called in sick, I can temporarily add Will to that queue. Now he's going to be in there, but when Will logs out of his application at the end of the day, it's going to go back to his normal skill sets and his normal. So you can make temporary changes just based on skill sets alone inside the monitor page like that, if that helps.
Okay. Yep, that actually does. That does.
So now
get some good insight as to what that could look like in the future possibly.
Yeah, and there's other stuff coming as well, and I have to apologize. I didn't realize it was so late. I've got a hard stop for 4.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew.
So I don't know if you want to have a round 2 of this, Freddie. If you want to do deeper dives into some of the stuff, there's a lot obviously I've left on the table. But and I'm going to be a minute or two late. But just before I go and stop the screen share, and Pete will say any other features, functions, use cases that you want to unpack.
No. Thank you so much for your time and being so thorough and walking me through everything. No, you hit. I think you checked all the boxes that I was looking for. In terms of expectations. So I just want to share that. So thank you. I do appreciate you.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I think this is a good fit, and like when you're ready to move, I got tons of references I can apply. I can provide you for people in your situation that use the software if it makes you feel more comfortable as well. Just let Mike know. Awesome. All right, I'm out of here, guys. I'll leave you with Peter and the team. Have a good one. Nice meeting you, Fred.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, Freddie, if you'll stay on for a little bit, there's some stuff we'd like to go over with you.
Sure.
Just in addition to the pieces that Andrew was discussing with your physical call center, once you put that in play, having some actual monitors up on the wall so you can see the analytics and the data real time to be able to look at the values of who logged in, call times, abandoned calls, all that information real time is something you can actually be looking at. In the event that you have a lunch situation where you have people covering for the receptionist or vice versa, you can actually be viewing that stuff. That is something also that you could deploy and have in your call center. So I don't know if you have that now or not.
No, we just have me yelling, answer the phone. We have 2 calls holding.
Okay,
that's the extent of it. So
yeah, and it makes sense. So if you're walking by, right? I mean, you wear a lot of hats probably. If you're walking by, you can take a look up and look at the analytics, and you can also be looking at it from your office, from your laptop, from your PC. Just kind of see who's longest calls, in the queue, longest parked calls, all that kind of information is there for you. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's always value to that visual because you can bark orders, you can bark, what the service level is all the time. You can have supervisors running up and down, the aisles, just kind of making sure people are aware that, hey, we got calls in queue. But it's that visual that kind of represents the driving force behind why we're here.
Yeah, because that tells the call center people actually that are the end user, hey, they're looking at that analytic as well, right?
Yeah.
So, kind of polices it, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You have any other questions for us?
Just off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
No, and Hector, you've been great as far as answering Paul during our brief conversation before. But I'm really pleased with the experience thus far. In terms of just the professionalism, just the overall interaction. But more importantly, I think just the solution that's offered and presented, I think does present some really great features and benefits. Touching on my sales talk for features and benefits always, right?
Right.
But it definitely gives us, I think, an option. So as far as what the way forward is, I keep kind of, going back to that.
Right.
It does take a lot of the pain out of the day-to-day that I'm currently going through right now.
And just think about it, from a business impact standpoint.
Yeah. It's a matter of understanding what the ROI is and understanding where that break-even point might be.
Right.
And then in terms of overall, just I think something that I can grow with, and so because I'm going to rely on this, for me to day to day to be successful. Because last thing I want to be doing is pulling reports, for the first half hour or whatever, and especially since you're able to fully integrate with eClinicalWorks,
right,
and bring data back and forth like that. But not only to improve the experience for the internal team, but also the patient experience.
That's it. I mean, what's the business impact if you're losing a couple of calls,
Yeah.
Can you put a numerical value to that and just kind of talk about if it makes sense or not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely. But yeah, no, just I like this. Let me ask you this, Hector. Do you have like a top sheet, like a one pager that kind of highlights, or maybe like a simple deck that can kind of highlight what we kind of ran through today?
Actually, I recorded the meeting, so I'll send you the recording as well as that. I'm gonna lean on Paul to see. Hey, do we have a slick on this contact center yet?
We do. Let me run that down and I'll get it over to you, Hector, so you can send it to Peter.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Peter, am I missing anything? I think Jim dropped off, but is there anything you want to add, maybe?
No, I was just going to say, just try your best to maybe blank out that little part with the swearing. But other than that, I think, I mean, Freddie, trust me, I'm from those old days when I was working through high school. My very first job was working in a contact center with a tiny little British lady coming out saying, everybody plug in. And then you move forward a couple of decades and you see the fact that you now have a team that can, like Paul was saying, you can physically police yourselves, see a bunch of guys sitting up. All of a sudden you see a bunch of calls there. You do your due diligence. You sit down and plug in because you've seen the reports. So, I mean, I think it's great to. Andrew's head's going to be so big. First of all, after you just told him the kudos on that. I have to deal with that. But if there is anything furthermore needed from you guys, for us, or I should say. Paul, Hector, not a problem for us to hop on another call, Freddie. We don't mind doing that. Just so you know, this wasn't it. If you want and have more specific questions, we can do this again. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
No problem.
Hector will start working up some pricing for you.
Take care, guys. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Yeah, so
All right,
Hector will start
Freddie.
working up some pricing for you.
Freddie, we already have the supervisor agent count, right, Paul? We don't need to make any adjustments to that.
I don't think so. I think it was 10 and 3, so I think we're good.
Okay, 10 and 3. And then the last part, Freddie, is I know when we met, you were tasked to find out when your agreements were over with your DIA, your internet. Is that something that get resolution on?
So there's 7 contracts.
Okay.
And they term out, I think the last one is 2026.
Okay.
So, and they're all, it's all by location primarily. So I think it's like a ballpark, it's like 50 devices.
Okay.
50 devices, and that's not including users or whatnot, but it's all contracted, or the terms are all by the time that they introduce the clinics. So as an example, Westwind, I think one of the first ones, which understandably would be one of the first ones to phase out, which I think happens this year.
Okay.
Late this year.
Okay, great. So what we'll do is I'll wait for your list, and we can start providing you that DIA circuit. And then I know with Spectrum VoIP, you're saying 2026 is like, are you looking like Q2, Q3?
I believe it's Q. They term out, I think Q2.
Q2. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's when they term out.
To get fiber build takes about anywhere from 90 to 120 days. So, we have plenty of time. One of the things that we do too is that we can do the fiber build, and we can we can put an addendum together and say, hey, don't turn on the circuit until you're ready. Right. So we can do that for you.
Nice. So I think my biggest, I guess, thing to do is to understand what the cost difference would be. And I think now that you understand a little bit more what our physical requirements are, in terms of capacity, and at each location, but then also what we're facing in terms of contracts, and timeframes, how that could be phased in or phased out, I should say, or both, what that could look like, and then just kind of putting some numbers together at some point, and just maybe, I don't know if it's a ballpark, and then we kind of go the first round, and then saying, because I know that we had pinned the ISP services and the data service, or the support services for the like the PCs and whatnot, and the network stuff. I think we had put a pin in that, so I think that's all kind of still pending. But in terms of framework and viability within the solution, it's definitely a step in the right direction. I'm ready to kiss Spectrum goodbye. If I could sign today, I would.
Right. I get it, man. We're here to work with you, and I correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but we do early termination.
Yeah.
So if there's any contracts that are within like 6 or 12 months away, what we can do is we can actually put those numbers together and kind of buy out to the contract.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if we shared that on our meeting, but I appreciate Freddie for your time. If you have any other questions for Paul or myself, let us know.
Having said that, that definitely puts a little more pep in my step.
Yeah, by all means. We'd love to meet you, man, and maybe take you to lunch if that's something that you have time for. And if not, we can just get you pricing, Hector, and we'll go from there.
Oh, no, I never try the food, man.
By all means, we'd love to buy you lunch, man.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Freddie.
Appreciate your time, Freddie.
Thank you guys for your time. And then, Hector, you reach out to me. Let me know what we come up with.
Yeah, definitely. I'll start plugging the address in, and then what I'll do is I'm going to send you the recording too, and kind of have a recap. And I'm glad this was a great demo. You kind of shared everything that you were talking about, all your pain points, covering your reporting, making a robust system. I think the features for the appointment setting and text messaging, I think that will get more. What did you say? More butts in the seats?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, we all got to pay bills, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right, Paul.
All right, Freddie.
Well, good deal, guys. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Take care. Bye-bye.